So I start with the intro. So yeah, that's what we want to talk with you guys today. Multibrand design system within the Volkswagen Group and its brands. Communication is key. Pretty large title, but yeah, as we said, there's a lot of things to say, to discuss, to talk when it comes to multi-brand design systems. So yeah, let's go to a quick introduction. So hi, I'm Matthias, 34 years old, live in Munich, been inside the MIN for, I guess, nearly 4 years right now. And yeah, my job is there to, I would say, align or standardize digital artifacts between technologies. And yeah, that it would welcome design systems into the game. And yeah, since then, or since ever, we were working really close with the guys from Volkswagen, especially with Thorsten. And yeah, we are really happy to show you and give you some insights how we do, or how is our way of work.
Yeah, hi, nice to meet you all. A warm welcome here from my home. I'm Thorsten, UX lead at the Volkswagen IT, so not at Volkswagen, but globally, but in the IT. And I'm a industrial designer, and I'm working for Volkswagen now for about 20 years, and 10 years about UX strategies, UX design systems, operative work, and so on. And we placed this shout out key image in front because my work is primarily not creating design systems, but do the evangelist work. I'm seeing myself as a Secretary of State in the design system environment. So I have to evangelize many people and different stakeholders, and that's what I'm bringing into this into this field of work. So that's also what we will talk about later.
Nice. So yeah, let's split the title a bit, or build an agenda out of it. So basically, multi-brand design systems. What is our definition, our principles, and important part, how we sell it through the group. And yeah, within the Volkswagen Group, introduction of our Group UI framework. Then give you guys a preview how we work. And last but not least, lessons learned and our next steps. So let's go. Multi-brand design system, our definition, principles, and how we sell it. Thanks to Luis at his talk from, I would say, Tuesday. Yeah, so he really defines and bring us all together when it comes to multi-brand design systems and their different stages. And we are at the stage, or we have the type, or we are using clearly the type at the hybrid model, so to say, and to get the maximum advantage for each brand, but for sure going with the hybrid type. And to be more, I would say, specific when it comes to, or be more at most transparent when it comes to that hybrid model, we first of all want you to show all the brands we have to handle or love to handle when it comes to Volkswagen and to multi-brand design system approach.
Yeah, so this is the Volkswagen Group with its brands, and each of any of those brands. So for example, Audi and Volkswagen is a bold brand. So they are super proud of their brand experience. Skoda, Seat, Cupra, Lamborghini, Bentley, Porsche. Yeah, these are iconic brands. So, and this is also the challenge if you are talking about design systems or multi-brand design systems with such bold representatives of a brand, because you cannot apply one structure to all of them, because they want to establish. Yeah, that's my dog, first time. So you cannot apply one structure to all. So you have to be aware that any one of those stakeholders wants to establish their super holy grail of their specific design into the design system. That's a huge job.
Totally agree. Yeah, and
I forgot MIN. Sorry.
yeah, we're also here. Just to be clear, these dots. This is really with our multi-brand design approach for sure. As Thorsten said, all these brands have their own brand, their own image, and their own importantness when it comes to design and selling the brands. And the green dots represent, so to say, who's already inside or really in deep connection with our multi-brand design system approach. And with the, I would say, gray dot, we're already in alignment and try to find as much synergies as we can to hop off on a similar technical level and understanding of multi-brand and design systems.
Yeah. Okay. One additional note from my side, because it is very super actual in my current work, is on top you don't have not only the brand specific designs, you also have touch point specific designs. So we have, for example, the touch point of our physical products, the cars and the trucks, and the in-car HMI, which is an entire work of field, which is not, it's connected to the other touch points such as web and app, but it's follows its own rules. So you have to bring two things together. So the vertical harmonization of touch points within one brand. So for example, harmonization of in-car HMI, web applications and apps. And on top, there are some internal VR, AR applications. And then the horizontal harmonization of technology. So we both, Matthias and me, are representing the web technology, not the in-car HMI and not the apps and not the VR, AR implementations, but only the web technology.
For sure, to always keep in mind to align technology as best as we can to gain this overall user experience in every touch point. So you buy a truck or a car, for instance, within the website or the configurator, having a similar or a consistent email communication. And then when it comes really to the truck, to the HMI, it should be the same look and feel through all touch points, so to say. That's always in mind. And our focus, but for sure, majorly or the previous work or our major work is the web environment. Yeah. So, but first things first, to have the same mindset, we need to have overreaching pillars, same as inside a design system with the foundations and stuff like that. Yeah, you need principles and pillars, and yeah, so.
Yeah, the first is we have to apply flexibility over rigidity. So you, as I said before, you cannot apply the same, also the same design principles to all the brands. So you have to be flexible in accepting requirements and demands. And you have also to be flexible in communication. This is also very important because every of our brands has its own, in German we say Duktus. So they have their own communication habits. So you also always have to be a little bit of a psychologist and to feel what it's about. And this leads to a sort of flexibility and a sort of tolerance in applying designs and implementing it in technology. So tokens are a major step towards this flexibility. And we also allow snowflakes. So for example, if any of our brands has got a special demand on a component, We don't say, no, you have to follow the central rule of implementing a button, for example, but feel free to apply your own features to a specific component. We take it as a snowflake and learn how to apply this item to all the other ones. And also we would like to, or we want to be technically framework agnostic. So that's the reason why we decided to go with web components, building it with Stencil, and not to go to with a framework like React or Angular. Even though we have many React product teams in our company, and also many Angular product teams, but we would like to apply something generic above that, and that's, from our point of view, web components. And we build it, as I said, with Stencil.js.
Yes. Global collaboration over the stakeholder focus. For sure, you need to gain trust when it comes to multi-brand decisions, and for sure a lot of communication, and through that communication it leads to a collaboration model. But the first and the really common thing is to gain that trust and provide these evolution together as a group, as a multi-brand, and as a, I would say, shared mindset.
Yeah. Also, if you are too focused on a specific stakeholder, then you get insights from, let's say, from a PO for their specific application, and then you build something specifically for their application. But it always has to be generic in our case. So in one brand you have to apply a generic button. For example, I stick with the button. A button is my best friend because it's so simple, and it's a good example. So, and a lot of effort goes into this evangelism and distribution stuff. To evangelize people to go for the generic and not for the specific implementation. Also, if you imagine a company like, let's say, I'm staying with Volkswagen Group. So we have a huge IT organization, which is about 12,000 people in total, above all brands. So we have one IT for every brand. Or for any brand, and we have brand-specific IT organizations, but we are seeing ourselves as one IT. And then you have in any brand these domains like HR, procurement, marketing, sales, logistics, academies. Did I miss something, Matthias? I don't know. So we have many of those domains, and domains tend to go to silos. So it's a siloed portfolio they have. And if you are going into these silos, so for example, the stakeholders of the silo procurement tend to implement procurement specific components and designs, and even though the beneath lying silo of logistics, let's say, uses the same corporate design, but they implement things differently. So, and it's a lot of evangelism to tell both of them that they are doing the same, more or less, and to turn this silos from a vertical point of view to a horizontal customer journey based view together. That's the most important thing for my work every day. So this is global collaboration. And also, if you have turned around it from vertical to horizontal view, then you have this brands as silos again. So you have to do it again and again and again. So turn the company horizontally.
Nice. But yeah, as you said, there's a lot of silos, there's a lot of complexity inside one brand, and it comes even more complexer when we want to follow a multi-brand approach. Yeah, so for sure we want to keep it as transparent as possible over complex documentation. Yeah, so for sure communication is the best way in this thing, and on the other side, keep it as transparent as possible, for instance, with a centralized backlog that is transparent for everyone within the brand and also within the group to say, okay, what are the problems? Are different silos working on the same problem? Has the silo already created awesome or best solution for this problem, and so on? So first of all, really to gain as much transparency as possible to build up collaborations out of this transparency.
Yeah, and we are super happy also to make our for example, our backlog transparent, and it's a permanent struggle. Maybe if I've got a super nice design PM. I'm calling him design PM. He's our lead designer, Lucas. Maybe if he's listening, hello, Lucas, and he's always tending to go for simplicity and for transparency, which is a huge asset he brings into our product team. So yeah, we are super glad that we have our documentation at least public, which is a huge effort at Volkswagen, at huge companies like Volkswagen. So you have to convince your stakeholders that design is nothing confidential. It is more valuable if you make it transparent and public, because anyone can read it, see it, use it. It's better to show than to hide it. And this is, again, a lot of effort in convincing and evangelism. Yeah, but we show this later on.
Yeah, and to wrap it up, for sure, it's a common vision over individual goals. So yeah, you heard it before. It's similar to every approaches when it comes to, I would say, design system thinking. So you need that aligned vision and that aligned goals. For sure, we focus on, especially when it comes to multi-brand design system, for the independentness for each brand, the individuality for each brand, and on top of that, a really awesome topic is the ally, the accessibility, and through that visualization here on the right, these common visions should really, would say, is the glue for all the other pillars or principles.
Yep. So many people have asked me before, why you're a designer, why are you in the IT? Why are you working for the IT department? So within the bunch of IT developers, which are kindly speaking a different language. But then I come to this quote, which I deeply emphasize. So design is only as good as it's implemented. So you always have to work on the implementation of design. So you have to speak the coders' languages. And you have also to, which doesn't mean that you speak their language, the programming languages, but the semantic language, or the vocal language, and that's my deepest understanding of design. So design has to be holistic from A to Z and from top to bottom.
Totally. And for sure, in our case, in regards of complexity, we need to, or we have to simplify the stuff as best as we can to use the right words through the right time, and really to reduce complexity and gain synergy and for sure safetiness, so to say, for our internal stakeholders. What are the brands? And yeah, but yeah, no joke. we really define it more simpler when it comes to the multi-brand design system approach. Like really, if we are building the same things, why not building it together? And yeah, but to follow this, you have to convert this mentality into business talk, into numbers, to sell it, because under the line, that's all we fight. For sure, we understand the importance of design, all the benefits of design systems, especially for multi-brand. But when it comes to big companies or small companies, whatever, you need to sell it. You need to put it into numbers, and yeah, and that's what we have done as well. Yeah, in other words, convince the management. And yeah, so translate it into their language, like with charts and PowerPoint. Yeah, so basically just make it transparent. So, okay, there's a classic design system theme and way of working. We call it the classic because it's the most common way when you start in the time and maturity levels. You build up a team, set up principles, and then you're slowly starting to build and design components and have this continuously growing curve of return on invest, so to say. And there is this brand B, the MVP only. You don't want this to be that brand, but yeah, there is the stuff you are see. Okay, other brands building design systems, they are really good with them. They see the achievements, and yeah, you start to building it by yourself. You have a budget for an MVP and building it in a pretty, I would say, speedy way. Yeah, you may use some resources from the other brands as well, and so on. But at some point you're out of budget, and there is no really consumers, so to say, for your design system, because maybe you only focus on one technology or focus on two less requirements. Yeah, and so you don't want to be in the MVP only. The other brand, we call it the nerd. We'd say, okay, they really have, I would say, design thinking inside their pillars of the brand of the. It's one of the pillar of the brand. They have the budget, they see the need, and they continuously growing and deliver design system stuff. So in between technologies or between design operations and stuff like that. So for instance, Google, Amazon, all the big players. And yeah, let's make it clear. So the future, if we say, okay, we go with the multi-brand approach and benefit from all these experience and from all these teams, for sure, the communication at first and the alignment between each other is a really, really rough part and takes much time and really, I would say, get you into minus when it comes to return on invest. But if you are really aligned and have that handshake, so to say, when it comes to technology, to design decisions, how to build up libraries and so on, you can just imagine the scaling potential. Just for instance, you build one application with that platform or with that technology for one brand, and the other brands just add their theme to it, changing connections between databases, for instance, and voila, you have the same product between different brands. So just to make it, I would say, convert it into management talk or into a PowerPoint.
Yeah,
you need to be more. Yeah, sorry.
This negative core curve in the beginning also takes a lot of effort in convincing people doing it together, because so we have had in the past several Volkswagen Group projects in the past, so where many brands come together and decide we do it together, and those group projects mostly were those which took the most time, which had the most communication chaos, which had the lowest output, and so on. But there's one golden example where it worked, and it's coming from the hardware. So if you imagine our cars of our brands, so Audi, Volkswagen, Skoda, Seat, and so on, and also for the truck brands as Scania and MAN, We have something we call modularer Querbaukasten, which is a nice German word, which is what you can see what's under the hood of a car. So in means of wheels, axles, motors, batteries nowadays, and all the hardware beneath the hood, which is mostly the same in all of the not the same, but it's the same components we are using, and that is what we are selling. So what we have done with our physical products within the cars, we would like to apply to software, and this is good understood in a company which works like Volkswagen, like the Volkswagen Group, because it's an engineers company. So we are heavily an engineering company, and you have to speak the language of the engineers. So if you have a metaphor which brings it into the minds of our colleagues, then it's always good. And we had a question before, so MVP in means of what's the minimal viable product of design systems for any brand. Modularer Querbaukasten, yes. Our MVP is not as the same design system for any brand. Every brand in our group has its own design. So Matthias builds a design system for MAN. We are building the design system for the group design, which is our group has its own corporate design, which is different to the Volkswagen passenger car design, which is in our responsibility. And any of us builds their own design system, but we are talking about semantics. So we are talking about the structure. What is best practice in regarding the structure, the documentation part, also the connection to the code. This is our MVP, and we are starting with as a minimum viable product, for example, that any one of us has got a design system in Figma, for example. And then we are starting to implement the designs as different variants in our components in the code. For example, we have a button for the Volkswagen Group, for Skoda, and for MAN, and for Porsche. And these are the minimal viable products. And from there, we are scaling. And the learnings from implementing it, all we are giving back to all the others.
Yep.
Yes.
Totally agree. Yeah. So MVP always is it depends between the brands. What are their expectations when it comes to design systems? Are they only located to one technology, or with that overreaching goal to align technology, so to say, different touch points between web, native, and in-car, for instance? So it really depends what MVP means for each brand. But as Thorsten said, our goal is with the, let's say, MVP for the multi-brand approach, to align at the lowest at the lowest point, for sure, when it comes to technology first, like using Figma, for instance, for all brands as their single source, to enable sharing and gain transparency, and really step by step. And back to management talk. Not only with this, we want to convince with real numbers, for sure. So I guess everyone should be aligned with that. The without and the with a design system, what are our benefits, and how to sell, I would say, a regular design system through the company. So it all depends how big is your IT and your design department. Then the numbers could be a bit mixed up, but in general, you have, I would say, that amount of increased speed or decreased cost when you put a design system or enable a design system into your brand, into your company, whatever. But let's scale this up and say, okay, with a multi-brand design system, in compared to a regular design system, you have even more benefits in terms of reducing costs, saving money, and especially for business cases, getting faster, your product faster through the market. So that's, at least in our perspective, or for our perspective, is this one of our key KPI, return on invest factor, to say, okay, we can really launch products faster if we align to use same technology, same foundations, a multi-brand approach. Yeah. And yeah, so basically these numbers, as you can see here, these calculations are from inside the Volkswagen Group. For sure, we try to increase our community as best as we can to get these data as realistic as possible, but these are really rough estimations, but they are true, so to say. You're really able to save that amount of time, and don't hesitate to share it to the management, because that's the stuff we do. That's our passion, doing design system, aligning stuff, and that's their passion when it comes to management, to see green and red numbers when it comes to saving effort or time or whatever. So yeah, just use this, and especially speak this kind of language. They never will understand a design system like your guys. They always focus and want to hear numbers and return on invest. So yeah, you have to learn, speak data or numbers, whatever you want to call it.
That's also only one communication strategy which we are following. This is the strategy towards the management. So those who are holding budgets. We have a question in the chat, how we are convincing different stakeholders. This is only one stakeholder group, and there are many other stakeholder groups, such as designers, design decision makers, design strategists, developers, development strategists, architects. These are all different stakeholders, and you need different strategies to communicate towards all of those groups. For example, if you are talking with designers about a design system, 99% of those will support you with your opinion. Design system is something good. Only 50% are saying a multi-brand design system or a multi-brand collaboration, let's say it's a collaboration, is a good thing, because they are saying, what do I have to do with other brands' designs? So I'm caring about my design. And the same goes for developers, which are saying, so if you are a developer in a procurement team, or in an HR team, then you are saying, what do I have to do with the procurement development? I'm doing HR development, so it's completely different. And then you have to convince them, first, you are using the same buttons. Second, you are using React both, or you are using Angular, and so on and so forth. And the architects, you have to convince to build more flexible applications, not siloed applications, or let's say Java-rich clients, capsuled ones, but more flexible architecture towards microservices. Now you're facing, when I'm talking about microservices, many of the designers again don't care about microservices because they want to design, but then I'm coming back to the statement before, design is only as good as it's implemented. So you have to talk also the architectural language again. So this is only one example for towards the management, but you have to find different strategies to communicate a design system.
Yeah, for instance, when it comes to developer strategies, we are all in a common way lazy, developers especially. So that's why we have that fancy frameworks, for instance, and say, okay, with with that backbone of a multi-brand design system, on that core, you can be sure that this code that you are coding right now will be efficient, and it will be reused by others, and all that stuff. So also creating or learn to speak developers, so to say, and convince them with stuff they want to hear. So you have to do this in the same way, but only for developer focus. Yeah. So, but right now, right here, it's really I would say that the hardest part to convince the management, especially when it comes to invest into your design system and gain transparency to the benefits. Yes. So yeah, and that's here it comes to Group UI, to the introduction of the Group UI framework.
Yeah. So happy to introduce you to our framework. Let's say it's a framework rather than the design system, and this goes also together with the question from Matthias in the chat. Group UI is first a design system for the corporate design of Volkswagen Group, which is an entire brand and follows its own brand rules. And we are creating the design in Figma and formally in Sketch, certainly, and are documenting it on Frontify and developing the components in Stencil.js and delivering it as native web components. And we are not applying one design as a white label for any brands. We can say we are creating a white label semantics for all the brands. That's what we are doing. So we have the same semantic structure within our framework. We are all using Stencil.js to build web components. We have one structure within our components, but we have different brand experiences. Yeah, and we are happy that we won with our Group UI design a red dot in 2019 when we still could have traveled. We were happy to join the ceremony in Berlin before of Corona. Okay, our vision is that all software products, web-based software products within the group in any brand, are built with one unified multi-brand design system, which is consequently based on user feedback of different target groups. So we also want to get feedback and gain feedback and implement feedback from end users using our components to make our components better and to serve the right elements for any product team. And Group UI is the result of a bold cross-product collaboration and cross-brand collaboration between design and development, which is imminently and super important to bridge design and development and to apply an optimal user experience to all our software products. That's our vision we are every day following. And it's always good to set up something like a vision so all product teams can follow this vision, or they are saying, no, I don't share your vision, so we are on a different sheet of paper. The main goals of our framework, let's say, is to build faster together, to gain more efficiency in software development and a higher user experience in the end. So by not only, we don't want to raise the efficiency only, but this is one important aspect. In the end, we would like to increase the design quality of our products. We want to have a greater corporate design harmonization. We would like to gain less training time, higher identification also with users, end users, customers buying our cars or using our digital products, but only create a higher identification of our employees because we have so much employees applications. Okay, that's our main goals together with our vision. And here you're seeing only a few of our target group. So there are generally UI and front-end interested people. So in the business department. So they want to create an application. So they have to care about how should it look like, and how is it been built. That's the general interested people in the business department, for example. Then you have the stakeholders in business and IT departments. That's the management, the number people. You have the users of the end users of the final product built with our framework Group UI, which in the end have to experience a higher quality of experiences, of designs, and so on. But the major target group of our framework are designers and developers building products with Group UI. And there goes our main effort into. So, so whenever we are doing or we are talking about user research, we have to gain input, we have to structure requirements. Then it goes into this designers and developers target group. They have different needs. So designers are differently than developers. So you have always to bridge those target groups also. So designers need different methods than developers. Designers need different communication than developers. Designers need different activation also than developers. So it's easier to call together 20 designers. That's the easy part. Try to collect 20 developers and bring them on one sheet of paper. That's really a hard thing. Yeah. And then bridge them together with the designers. That's the hardest part. So our title of our our talk here is communication is key, and that's so relevant. Okay, so this is our, a little bit hard to understand, but this is our cross-product collaboration process. So we have generally interested people, you have stakeholders, users, and designers and developers. They all bring requirements. Yeah, one is I want to easily apply a harmonized design to achieve my regulations, because we have so many design regulations. You have to follow Freigabeprozesse. I don't know the English word. Approval processes. So if you are applying the right design, you can easily get an approval. You need a stake or financial requirement. You need user requirements because they don't understand an item or misusing some functions. And then you have the designers and developers bringing the most requirements from their daily work. And we are identifying all of those requirements in a huge pivotal or funnel, in a huge funnel, and prioritize all those requirements together. And then we are going into this collaboration loop. So we have to understand, we have to evaluate, we have to define user requirements, and we have to design a solution which leads then into our components in Group UI, design and code components. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, who is this funnel? Yeah, we have established a nice. So I was very thrilled about the talk on the first day when I read that someone has a Slack to repository workflow established. I directly texted him, and we have several channels, such as internal Teams channels. We have Microsoft Teams internally. We have different other Slack channels, collaboration Slack channels, and we have also a post box where people can write us, and they are giving us feedback there. And we are on top of that, we have bi-weekly design collaboration workshops where designers are giving us input about needed requirements, and they also can collaborate with us on Figma. We are showing that later, right?
let's see
Yeah.
if
Okay.
there's some time left. Yes.
Okay.
Nice. So yeah, next steps. Yeah, a preview how we work, and let's call it, or we call it, the rainbow of collaboration. And this rainbow is built up, or these are the colors of the rainbow. So as Thorsten mentioned, we like to simply chat like a single source of communication. Yeah, so unfortunately, it will never be only one technology where every communication is aligned and so on. But for sure, we tried it with the communities, with the general Slack and Teams channels to really align communication and make it as transparent as possible when it comes to communication, to decisions, or to releases, whatever. So it's really a big pillar, so to say, to try to have this single source of communication in mind, or focus that approach. Then it comes to shared Figma libraries or shared libraries in general. And these libraries not only includes UI kits. These libraries also includes presentations and workshops when it comes to how to argument design systems, multi-brand design system approaches between, we mentioned it before, between management or I would say money givers, or between developers, between designers, and each of these presentations and artifacts are also shared between the group and its brands. Yeah, and the common documentation, in our case, most of the brands aligned with Frontify as their documentation tool. And within this alignment, we can easily share content and upcoming plugins when it comes to say seamless integrating of code or design artifacts, for instance. And yeah, the other big part is the, would say, synced backlog, or really this common shared backlog, to also create this transparency. What are the next steps when it comes to group UI? What are really high requirements between the brands, for instance, the dark mode or token specific stuff and so on, to really be transparent and have these kind of weeklies and retrospectives where we aligned on what are the next steps and how do we proceed, what should we focus, and put this into designer and developer specific workshops to, I would say, analyze it, evaluate it, and prioritize it together. And
so, so it's not a strict group committee, let's say, but it's more a trust-based collaboration. So we are all in Slack, for example, so we can just chat with each other and say, hey, I've got a new requirement. What should we do with that? And then we put it, for example, on a Miro board where we can all access to. And from time to time we also have this regular meetings where we put things together, and luckily it doesn't lead to any bottleneck yet, because that's the second big important, super important aspect. We are not a bottleneck team, so we are creating this overall initiative to build a big Lego toolbox where anyone can build its worlds with it. So we all have this small plastic bricks which fit together, which is built by the tools with Figma semantics, tokens, web components, which is all compatible. But then any of us builds its own bricks and builds its own models. For example, one is building Lego City and the other one is building Lego Technics and so on. And we are inviting any of the product and design teams out there to collaborate together to create new components, new features individually. So and then a magic happens and it fits together. that's the interesting part. Only merging the stuff in one repository is, to be honest, a bottleneck.
Yeah, that's pain.
Yeah.
But yeah, that also comes to wrap this up to the test-driven development. So everything when it comes to code, for sure, it creates complexity. Also when it comes to Git repositories and how really set up this kind of code reviews and this pairing process to really be sure or enable the brands to put their updates or their new version as soon as possible and not have to wait for, I would say, overall decisions or overall releases. And yeah, that's also a really big part we're focusing on. And yeah, fun Kappa, it's also represents really the keep all the stakeholders let's say satisfied in terms of all these other rainbow steps. So if there are really pain points for one brand, these brands should also or is able to communicate their problems, and we try to find the best solutions that fits to all our needs. For sure, there will never be the perfect solution that everyone is happy, so to say, but under the hood, or under the line, the benefits we gain with that multi-brand approach or with that multi-brand framework we have are much higher than specific requirements for one brand. Always keep that in mind.
Matthias, we have so many questions and so few time. So we have half an hour left. So if we would like to answer some questions, we have to go on.
I speed up. So yeah, just here simplifying model, how it works really on a simplified level. So brand A, brand B, brand C, with all their pride, with all their requirements when it comes to brand, and with all their experience. Yeah. So these brands come in with, I would say, design decisions, foundations, tokens, you name it. Yeah? And with the Group UI, we provide an agnostic web component and agnostic Figma components-based approach. So also called, I would say, a framework, a technology, a core, whatever you want to name it. And with that provide from our side, with the multi-brand approach, you're able to, I would say, customize, theme it in your individually way, creating snowflakes when it's not in our component library yet, and build your own outcoming library, UI kit, call it design system, whatever, out of it. Just a simplified workflow, how it should work and how it actually works right now. So through the lack of time, I speed up a bit enough to just show you a preview example of how we create a component together. So as I mentioned, there is these big generatic or overlapping backlog where we all have access to it, and it's always be transparent what are the next tasks and what is in the backlog and so on. And also we have these backlog live and transparent without logins inside our documentation platform in Frontify.
Yeah, so our documentation platform lives public on Frontify, and we build an API to our pivotal tracker backlog, and have written a view to it, so you can always see what's in the backlog of our developers. We have not done it for design yet.
No, but it will come. So. Yeah. Let's take, for instance, a task it calls creating tabs, for instance. It's already done, but just imagine. So when it comes to creating new components, for sure, we start with, I would say, a session or a workshop where different designers, stakeholders, teams, they are all invited. If they want to participate, it's on their side, but at least they are invited. And within these workshops, we generate properties, requirements through these new components. So when it comes to tabs, for example, here.
Can you zoom in a little bit?
Yeah, sorry. Just really stack up requirements, and with the backbone of the requirements, creating some samples with the designers, some wireframes. It don't have to be that granular or that high fidelity like this, but here, for instance, it's very high fidelity. And with
you have to say that at this point of at this moment there are working on the Figma file at least 5 designers. So different designers. We don't have 5 designers in the team, but we have 5 designers in the collaboration process from different product teams.
Exactly. So that's and that similar model, all the other brands do the same. For instance, like here is the example file for the MRN, so getting requirements, okay, set up, okay, we need that kind of variance when it comes to tabs, and same for Porsche, for instance. They had the same, maybe they had some more requirements when it comes to sizes or with an icon in it and stuff like that. And after that processes, we get one step back and make it transparent to the other brands. Say, okay, here we are, these are the requirements from all the other brands that are involved in this process, and let's find synergies. And if these properties or requirements are only brand specific, they could be brand specific, because we as Group UI, or with our approach, we are able to support these snowflakes, this kind of snowflakes. So get that flexibility and the power to the brand, so to say, to create their own decisions. Otherwise, let's align to the foundation of a component.
So let's say every brand has got its own design team, but we have something like ambassadors looking over the fence of the brands and saying, hey, look here, and all is transparent, you can access. And look here, we have a tab component. It works like this. Could you apply it like that? And then the other team says, it doesn't work too good for us. Let's do it this way. And then you will find a compromise always.
Yes.
And that's the good thing. So any brand has got its own design team and also its own development team.
Totally, yeah, and that's is the next step. So when it comes to the development, sure, there is these, I would say, one core Group UI development team who provides components or technology or the Git structure and so on. But through our experience and through the stability of the framework right now, it's easy to to adapt these kind of say to switching the switching parts to other brands, so to say. So not only not all core components has to be created from Group UI core team. They can easily be created from MRN, for instance, for Porsche, for instance, and all the other brands add their theme afterwards. So it's easy to share work and requirements.
Yeah, what you see here is our still existing storybook, which features now the design of the Volkswagen Group design. It's not passenger cars, and now Magic.
Yes.
Here's the same component for Porsche.
Exactly. So the classical theming. But as I mentioned, if we have, I would say, properties that are not aligned with the core components, who are really snowflake specific for, or snowflakes for one specific brand, we can easily, or you are able to easily add them to your component or to your interpretation of the component.
And to your question, Daniela, yes, every brand has got its own Figma file, yes, and design system. So the multi-brand design system is the collaboration, to be honest. And this is that's why we are saying collaboration is key. You cannot apply one design system to every brand.
Yeah, it's pretty hard. Maybe. Afterwards, you can try to align when it comes to design files. You can try to align on as much synergies as possible. For instance, when it comes to naming conventions, or when it comes to sizes for tabs, for instance, like, or to variants, primary, secondary, and so on. But it's pretty hard, and I guess it's not worth it to say, okay, we use one file that fits to every brand, because as we mentioned before, a lot of times you need to provide the power for each brand to change stuff the way they want and not be limited by one upper resource, so to say. So
okay, two more questions. Babette, yes, all brands have the same source codes. So except only the CSS is different, and the JavaScript if the behavior is different. But all have the same source code. Yes. And the other question to the skeleton design system, no, we don't have a skeleton design system with other what other adopts a little bit. Our group design is a little bit of a skeleton or a blueprint, white label, yes. Mm-hmm. But every brand can come with their skeleton. So for example, we had this token example, which we are showing later, is developed by MAN. So this is the skeleton which is coming from another brand, and it is adopted individually. Not every you don't have the Big Bang theory with one central point or with one centralistic approach, but anyone can contribute and everyone can adopt.
Yes. So all the components Volkswagen built or MAN built or every brand are built to be reusable or to be multi-brand, so to say. Not in their focus, in the focus that that it should be shared. Mm-hmm. So as I mentioned, one of the brands decided to build this new component, and after that, for sure, the other brands has to, I would say, re-theme it. So, for instance, if Volkswagen built the brand, for sure, they build their component, they style it or they build it at first in the Volkswagen way, and then the developers have to adapt it through your brand design or to your brand specific CI or CMIT, whatever you name it. Mm-hmm. And after that, it's built, you have to add it through your documentation platform. So, as you can see here, it's inside. So this stuff, I've missed one. Here we're using Frontify. Volkswagen is using Frontify and all the other brands so far as we know. So inside these documentation platform, everything is documented, how to access, what is this. And when it comes to components, Thorsten mentioned it before, we want to switch from Storybook, to a custom-made, I would say, custom-made solution to integrate it, first of all, seamless into our documentation platform. And on the other way, when it comes to theming and the multi-theme approach, it's quite complex to add this to Storybook, because Storybook is basically for one component library, so to say, so for one brand. But to avoid this complexity and also reduce code inside our repository, we go with the custom solution, and for sure it looks much better in compare when we look at the MAN way. Unfortunately, we haven't built the tabs yet, but I switched to the buttons, for instance. If we using, I would say, the old school way, just to iframe our Storybook components into our documentation, it's not that common. And if you can see in compare, you have, I would say, much more freedom, especially when it comes to switching resize or dimensions and stuff. So that's a point we're working on right now. And basically, that's one, I would say, really high-fly example of our workflow. For sure, we could be much more granular when it comes to technology, but I guess it gives a quite good overview how we work and how we communicate afterwards our components.
Okay, one question I am noticing here. Yes, we have React and Angular wrappers. We are delivering native web components built with Stencil, and Stencil has got the nice function that they are offering also wrappers for React and Angular. So you build it once and anyone can use it.
Yes, so that's one of our main pillars, to be framework agnostic, or in some way technology agnostic, to say, okay, the foundations are web components, so the future of the web, so to say, and with the power of Stencil, or with the converting power of Stencil, we are able to, let's call it, translate these web components or wrap it into common frameworks like Angular, React, Vue, whatever. And you are, I would say, proof when it comes to the future for future upcoming frameworks.
Yeah, and we also considered Lit, but our developers said that Stencil.js has a better tool set. Yeah. Okay.
We also linked it in the Mario board as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So just a quick overview. And last step, we speed up a bit. So yeah, lessons learned.
Maybe if we have 1 minute, if you are showcasing our framework, then you could also show the first steps towards the token aspect, just as an overview. Do you have those tabs open?
Not yet, but I can. So through the hype of tokens, or I would say the need of tokens, especially when it comes to multi-brand approach, we still in a, I would say, evaluation phase, how to handle token as best as we can for every brand. So for sure, there are a lot of guys like Specify and all the other within Jan 6, super cool tools, but how does these tools fits our requirements versus building our own stuff versus using a open source model, for instance? And we are still testing it a bit out. In our case, we focus on DS. DS is an open source design token framework. It's connected to similar as all the other design APIs to your common design tool, not only for Figma, it also works for the other common tools. And what it does, it searches the files for all the variables and put it into a JSON file, similar as all these token APIs works. And you are able to create technology-specific data out of this, for instance, XML, CSS, whatever. And on top, it automatically, in brackets, created a documentation platform where you can document and visualize your component. But to be honest, it's only it works in one direction. So Figma is finger source of truth, and you cannot changing stuff from the documentation and it's going back to Figma. So
hopefully Louis from Specify is not listening, because we also talked with Louis and Specify before. We just didn't have the time to try it out with Specify. And Matthias, I just sent you via Slack the token chart. Maybe you can open this up, then I can say what our goals are, where we would like to go. This PDF.
Yeah, my Mac is on its limits, I guess. So, give a second. Maybe another question in between.
Yeah, maybe if Frontify, Angular, copy paste, theming. Theming example for Porsche is done manually. Yes, there's no pipeline yet. Do different teams work on their own CSS? Yeah, it's their own CSS. The glue is communication. The left part, please. And so that's our target view, or where we would like to go. You can also change Specify through DS in this chart. For example, so this is only exemplary. So any of our brands is using a design system and an atomic design approach. We would like to have them all in Figma perspectively, with the same semantic structure. And then we can apply a token platform and the design API, and then we can automate the target technologies, and the blue ones is the web technology, but you also can apply that to mobile and to in-car HMI to whatever you want. This is just a preview, a vision where we would like to go.
Yep. that's the power of tokens, to be that technology agnostic, and really provides us a good way to connect to other technologies and round up user experiences between technologies with tokens, to be safe when it comes to global design decision and stuff. But yeah, as I mentioned, we're still playing around a bit, and what is the best solution for the whole multi-brand design system context.
Okay.
So yeah, lessons learned and next steps. So yeah, really to be honest with each other, real talk. So multi-brand design system means you need a long breath, stamina, and patience, because you have to talk a lot with different people, stakeholders, and be aware of these guys are not that into design system as you. So this is just another tool for them, and not your passion, not their passion, it's our passion. And for them, it's just another tool or whatever. So be aware of that, and you have to bring these long breaths, whatever. Mm-hmm. Always be aware that every brand has his own tradition, and above of it's all their pride. So that's one common thing we have to fight, and we have to, I would say, align this pride a bit, to say, okay, with that pride, for sure, we're fighting the same fights. So just try to convert it in other arguments.
Yeah, you always have to remember that our group is featuring one of the most valuable brands worldwide. So Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche, for example. Sorry, MAN, yeah. Yes. Yeah. So, but it's not that known as the other brands. And if you are saying Porsche, Volkswagen, and Audi, you're in the same row with Coca-Cola and Pepsi and Nike. So this not only tradition and pride, but also brand experience is a major asset of the brand. So you have to be aware that it's very valuable to keep this brand experience as high as possible.
And when we talk about traditions, especially in automotive, to say, okay, we come from a very analog product and process, and have now this shift to digital. And everyone knows German cars are that high when it comes to the world in terms of security standards and the image overall. And we try to convert this image from the analog product into the digital product. And for sure, it takes time and a lot of stakeholders and resources. But at the end, the digital product will be as good as our analog product. So always keep that in mind when you have conversations and long conversations and stuff like that. So that should be our focus, or is our focus and goal.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
And yeah, multi-brand also means that the ultimate goal is to remove the fear of restriction. Yeah, so everyone is feared that you're restricted from one lead design system team and say this is impossible, what you're thinking, blah blah blah, and just try to remove this fear, translate agnostic with agnostic terms, and translate it into freedom, so to say. Yeah, and then to focus your strategy on independence and individuality of each brand. So that's what they want to hear, and that's what we should focus when it comes to multi-brand. And yeah, you have to learn to speak business / development / design / brand / every, I would say, silo inside your company that is in a certain way connected to the design system. And you have to speak their language to convince them. It's not that hard, but always keep in mind, they not share your passion right now, or you have to translate it in their words, that they have the same perspective and the same passion through your product.
Okay. One thing, because we had a question how long we are playing around with it. So we created the first design system in 2014, which is actually 7 years ago. But this was only a single brand for the group, and then only in Sketch and only as a design. And then we translated it to code, to a styled what's it called? Sorry?
Style guides.
Yeah, to code it boilerplates and so on. And how is it called? This JavaScript framework, Bootstrap, in a style Bootstrap, and then we eliminated it again, and so on and so forth. So the most important thing, what I would like to say with that, is you need a long breath, and you need one lucky and silly guy driving that. Here is it. Here I am. So I'm driving this for several years now, evangelizing the thing, and I have the great freedom to do this. This is a super great asset, and this is the most important thing. So have the breath to do it, to follow a strategy, and yeah. Now we can go on.
Yeah. So the result of it, if you have this long breath and stay with it, so you work multi-brand, and as a result, you can argue multi-brand. So especially for big business decisions, when it comes to money and aligning of technology, you can always say it's not our decision, it's the decision of the multi-brand and all the other brands that bring all their expertise through this topic, and we decided together that this solution is the best for all. So it's much easier to argument. And on the other hand, if you argument as a multi-brand, you can easily work as a multi-brand. So that's the common goal, and that's the mode we already have with our brands that are, so to say, involved or working with us with the group UI set, and we try to scale it as best as we can. Yes. And what we are working on, we mentioned it before, it's the token pipeline, aka design API, that fits through all the requirements of the brands, especially when it comes to costs and stuff like that, and versus building your own thing. Building the storybook alternative for seamless integration of code into Frontify or any other documentation platform, you name it. One of the biggest challenge, host our stuff public as possible, make it open source. So we really fight for that topic, because the benefit is so big, especially when others can contribute as well outside the group, outside the brands, to scale this even more. And yeah, attract more brands / people, I would say, to share this mindset and working on similar multi-brand design approaches that we can share each other's experiences and build stuff together.
Yeah, well, maybe one additional thing which I forgot to mention before. So even though we are delivering web components, many of the teams doesn't appreciate that. So they are saying, it's too strict, and I have too few flexibility in using the web components and so on and so forth. I would rather consume a CSS version or HTML and CSS only to build my own stuff. And also that is covered by the design API. So if we are able to deliver a design API delivering CSS or SCSS or whatever, then those target groups also would be
satisfied,
better covered. Let's say that.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. That's the common goal with the design tokens, for sure, to enable the brand decisions for other technologies, frameworks, whatever, and really to gain consistency through technology. Yeah, so web,
okay. So
native, car, and whatever.
Yeah. I'm doing the timekeeper again. We have 10 minutes left, so we should go for questions.
Bring it on.
Yeah, we tried to answer your questions on the go, but I have seen that there were more questions we haven't answered yet.
Indeed. Oh my God, this is amazing, guys. I have to say, like, the feedback already is incredible. Like, people are chatting here on the Zoom, but also I want to quickly show you on our mirror board. Give me 1 second. That Steve mentioned, can we please have a whole day with Volkswagen? So we cannot have enough of your content, that's for sure. It's really nice. Thank you so much for your presentation. And we do have a couple of questions. So you probably covered most of the ones that we have in Slack. Sorry, in Zoom.
Yeah, in Zoom.
And we do have more that were posted in the Miro board as well. And I think maybe it will be a little bit repetitive. You might have covered some of it, but I'll just get the ones that are the mostly voted here on the Miro board. And if you guys have time and you come back to the Miro, that would be great. Everyone will appreciate. So the first one, actually, it's a request. Can they have the presentation slides, please?
Yes.
Nice. Thank you so much.
You can also have our public link for Group UI documentation.
And please test it out and give us feedback. And as I mentioned before, if you are also working on a multi-brand design system, don't hesitate to contact us. We want to build up some kind of community to really share knowledge, share problems, sharing solutions. And yeah, on that point, really thanks again to this community, to you two guys, girls, whatever, to hosting this and give us the opportunity to share and to talk.
Yeah, I think you touched upon a very important point that I was questioning when we had a talk yesterday, right? Is it interesting to make like your private design system public at all? But now you guys are proving it's like, please do it.
Totally,
right?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, very nice. So I think there's a question here about requesting new components. And how do you measure if it is important enough to build it?
Oh, yeah. So first of all, there's a product team which builds an application, a prototype or whatever, and they are coming to us and getting into contact and showing us their concept. And then we are saying, yeah, nice, yeah, but we understand that, but we have a different feature. Would you like to use this one, because it's already a standard? Sort of portfolio management is that. And if they intend or if they say, no, this doesn't fit to our requirements or our needs, then we are saying, okay, then let's go for a new component or a snowflake or whatever together or separately and build it. So if they have the need, they should build it. Yes, it should follow the rules.
Yeah. And on the other side, if one brand already created a snowflake, for instance, is this now a snowflake for this brand, but through evaluation and say, okay, this snowflake is requested from all the other brands and products as well, we can easily shift it as a global component where other brands have the opportunity to style it and use them or reuse it again. So for sure, there's this classical requirements process. And on the other hand, we can provide snowflakes from other brands to convert it into a global component.
Yeah. There's one question: how many people have an overview of your portfolio? So we as a team and those who are getting into contact, we are sharing. Sharing is caring, and it's not too hard to keep track of it because there's one good thing: you cannot see anything. So there's hundreds of product teams in the company. So there must be thousands of components I never have seen before, and I don't care. Yeah. So I cannot care about anything. So I appreciate anyone who's coming and asking for collaboration to enrich our growing component library, but I cannot care about anyone.
Yes.